So I've been told all my career, you need to learn to delegate more, so I'm delegating. Actually, I'm going to introduce you to some folks who actually can tell you a lot more about the subject of today's presentation. But I want to start with a few facts and figures because I am a librarian. By the way, he mentioned McDonald's, sure mentioned McDonald's. There are more library buildings, branches and main libraries in the US than there are McDonald's. Anyway, last month, Governor Holcomb and Lilly Endowment announced a $100 million investment to support early literacy for future students through the deployment of instructional coaches in schools, targeted support for struggling students, and research and professional development for teachers in the science of reading. The Indiana Department of Education aims for 95% of the state students to pass iRead 3 by 2027. Put simply, iRead measures whether a student can read. iRead 3 measures whether a student can read by the end of third grade. And presently, the answer for nearly 1 in 5 Hoosier third graders, the answer to that is no. They cannot read by the end of third grade. They can't read on third grade level or at all. They have not yet mastered foundational reading skills, 1/5 or 18.4%, so a little less than 1/5. The goal is ambitious. In 5 years' time, the state wants to move from 81.6% of third graders passing iRead to 95% passing. And this is just the beginning, a foundational level of literacy. There's also the iLearned test for English and language arts, which measures how well a student reads. Not just can they read, that's iRead. If iLearn for English and language arts is how well can they read. And in 2022, the third grade passage rate for iLearn English and language arts was just under 41% for the state of Indiana. Educators, librarians, and literacy specialists have known for some time now that third grade reading skills are a critical milestone in a child's educational trajectory. Students who are poor readers at the end of third grade are likely to remain poor readers for the remainder of their lives. They are less likely to graduate on time, and some of them will never receive their high school diplomas. In fact, several studies by the Annie E. Casey Foundation found that, quote, children who do not read proficiently by the end of third grade are 4 times more likely to leave school without a diploma than proficient readers. It went on to say that when poverty is factored into the analysis, the findings are even more sobering. The graduation failure rate for children who cannot read proficiently by the end of third grade and are poor for at least 1 year during their early childhood is 26%. Yes, 26% of children who cannot read proficiently by the end of third grade and who are poor for just 1 year do not graduate from high school. This is more than 6 times the dropout rate for proficient readers. Learning losses caused by the pandemic both underscored and exacerbated this startling reality, which helped create, thankfully, a broader awareness of the problem. The elephant in the room, so to speak, got bigger and became much more visible to those whose view was perhaps so big picture and so high level that it seemed relatively small in comparison to all of the other not insignificant challenges faced by education these days. Now, ELKR Public Library doesn't have anywhere near the combined resources of the Lilly Endowment and the state. Nowhere near that, believe me. And realistically, even $111 million won't fix a problem this big. To go back to the elephant metaphor and then mix it with another elephant metaphor, we need many, many organizations, institutions, and individuals gnawing away at this element of illiteracy by helping young children to read. You know what I mean by gnawing away? Have you heard the question, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And we at ELKR Public Library are doing our part in this regard. So I'm going to stop with my little lecture now and introduce you to my colleagues. First is Mary Beth Schlabach. Go ahead and stand up. She is our Assistant Director of Public Services. She oversees 5 or 6 departments. Most of the people that you see behind public desks when you come into the library are under her oversight in one department or another. Also, I'm going to ask Allison McLean to come up along with Sonia Overman, excuse me. Allison is our head of Young People Services. Young People Services means children through teen. And Sonia is ELKR Public Library's first ever reading tutor. Allison has been with us for about a decade. Sonia has been with us since last March, I believe. Or summer, February, January, this whole year. I don't remember. Just like, wow. Alice will introduce Sonia and they will co-present and tell you about what we are doing, a program called Growing Readers. So Allison, take it away.
Good afternoon. It is great to be here to share about this program at the library. And thank you, Lisa, for your statistics and setting this whole thing up. As a children's librarian, literacy is very near and dear to my heart. And it is my work to support literacy in the community. A few examples of how I do this with my team. We love to match kids up with just the right book. A child will come to us and even say, I hate reading. And what I like to say to them is, you just haven't found the right book. And we are able to often find that book for them. We also every year hold a summer reading challenge, encouraging children to read over those summer months every day and giving away fun prizes for those who do. Another example with the early literacy is our story times, and these are weekly group story times for babies, toddlers, and preschoolers. And at these story times, we are demonstrating early literacy practices as we read stories and sing songs, and we are also educating the parents as to how they can continue their learning at home. So we have a lot going on. That's just a few examples. Let's see. Switch. We do often get questions from the community about books and reading. And one of the questions we would frequently be asked is, what does the library have for my struggling reader? How can you help my child who is behind, learning how to read? And the teacher is often sending them out to say they need more support. And we had a few things, and they were small things that we could, sort of offer them. We did do a read to a therapy dog program, which was very fun. And readers who were behind could sit with a dog, not be intimidated by some adult listening to them read, and have a good positive experience there. We offer homework help with National Honor Society high school students. We also have online tutoring, which is a free service that helps with all subjects and grade levels. But I still didn't feel like we had the right answer to this question, and I was looking to do more. We knew that there was more that we could do, and we wanted a more direct impact. So it did become part of our strategic plan, and we worked toward that goal to provide opportunities for every child to read and succeed by grade 3. We worked hard at finding a way to do that, but it wasn't until this past year that I came across a way that really felt right. When I saw what Muncie Public Library is doing at their library, I got really excited, and I felt that it was something we could replicate here. They have a reading tutoring program, which is called Ready Readers, and they take students who are struggling and read with them for 30 minutes once a week. And so I went to Muncie, I talked with them, I learned as much as I could about their program, and I said, yes, let's bring that to ELKR and make it our own. So that's what we started to do. I knew that finding the right person to run this program was the key. I like I said, know a lot about literacy and reading as a children's librarian, but I know also my limitations, and I am not a reading teacher. So I wanted to find somebody who was, somebody with that expertise. And we really got lucky when Sonia Overman fell into our lap, and she was the exact right person to take this challenge. So we hired her, we got right to work at planning this and getting it going. And Sonia has done an amazing job taking the idea and running with it, and she's brought it to life with amazing results. We also could not have done what we are doing without the support of ELKR Community Schools. They have done even as much as provide resources with us, share what resources they use in the classroom, and they have teachers who will check in with us to compare notes on student progress, and they are always referring students to our program. So we're so glad to have their support. With all that combined, we were able to kick this program off in March, and in the last 6 months, we've just seen amazing success. So what is Growing Readers? I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the program, and then I will turn it over to Sonia so you can hear even more. So it is a reading tutoring program for 30 minutes once a week, and these are one-on-one with Sonia and the student, and I should say not quite one-on-one because we do encourage parents or caregivers to stay there in the room, and that is very important. The audience for the tutoring is from 3 years old up to the beginning of 3rd grade, and so we have kids all across that age range. And our goal with it is to get these students to be back to where they're reading on grade level. And if they have not yet started kindergarten, we're helping those students to prepare for kindergarten and make sure they reach those kindergarten readiness benchmarks as they age. So I am excited to introduce Sonia Overman. She's an experienced kindergarten and 1st grade teacher who has come to the library to help us run this program. And take it away, Sonia.
Thank you. So what makes Growing Readers different? It's our parents. When we first started, I asked the parents who came in, why this program? Why, with all of the opportunities kids have for outside of school activities, why did you bring your child here? And I heard over and over, the teacher says my kid is behind in reading and I don't know how to help. And it was the last part of that sentence that like shifted my thinking. I was going into this thinking 30 minutes once a week. I mean, that's hardly any time to teach kids how to read. However, 30 minutes once a week is a generous amount of time to teach parents how to help their reader. So I went into it with that mindset. Parents are encouraged to be in the room. They're invited to participate fully. Homework is a joint responsibility. The parent and the child do it together because beginning readers need help. It's not something you can teach yourself. And so the parents who have bought into this, of course, not everyone fully buys in, but for the ones who have, we have had amazing results. So it's really, really exciting. So the way a session runs is pretty straightforward. We have the fluency practice where we do isolated skills. I do some assessments to try and tease out where the child is stuck. We do some direct instruction if needed. We play lots of games to just build that fluency. And then the child reads a book to me so that they can practice what they've learned in context. During this time, I'm modeling to the parent how to support the child when they're stuck. I noticed a lot of parents have one strategy, sound it out, which is great, but it doesn't work when you come to the word THE. So we needed other strategies. So I'm modeling how to help the student at their level with that book. And then when we're finished, that book goes home with the child as homework to reread to their parent and practice the support. While the child is reading, we'll often stop And the parent and I will have a discussion and I'll say like, do you see all these wonderful things she's already doing in her reading journey? Or here's the next step. Or do you notice a pattern that is happening on every page? Also, the parent stops it sometimes to say, you know what the teacher told me last week? So it's a joint effort to like try and figure out where the sticking point is and how we can move beyond it. The next thing that happens is I read a book to the child, and this was met with a lot of surprise, and some parents openly questioned me. Like, we have 30 minutes for you to teach my kid how to read, and you're spending 10 of it reading a book to them. And so that gave me the chance to explain to them how critical it is for children to hear complex texts, and how it helps develop their comprehension skills and grows their vocabulary, how it introduces new concepts like story elements, text features, things they're going to run into down the road in their own reading journey, and they'll be familiar with because they've heard it before. That book also goes home with the family. So the parent needs to reread it to the child. And if, you know, I encourage them often, if they'd like more, there's a whole room full upstairs. So get a big pile, take them one home. And many do. So did I miss something there? Nope. All right, so the first week, all 20 spots were filled. We put it out in our Savannah newsletter. And the first week we did that, all 20 spots were filled, and we had 47 kids on the wait list, which was, in a word, overwhelming. So we sort of stopped advertising. We've had more kids come word of mouth, but we haven't made a big deal about it because it was a little overwhelming. But I'm happy to report that as of 2 weeks ago, every one of those 67 kids has been offered a spot. They didn't all. They didn't all take it because sometimes family circumstances change. And it took a couple of months to get them all in, but they've been offered a spot, and we have 8 kids currently on the wait list. So that's where we are. The attendance has been a huge surprise to me, and I've been really, really happy about it. It's one 30-minute session once a week. Super easy to go, I'm too busy this week, I can't come. But they come. They come, and even if they're late and running in the door, they come because it feels like a worthwhile part of their week. In fact, last night I got a text from a parent saying, we can't come. I just realized that my husband's going to be out of town on Thursday and we can't come. What can we do? And I said, practice vowel teams whenever you see a book. So the homework goes on, even if I'm not there, and even if they have to miss the thing. So far, in our first 6 months, we have served 48 students who've been in the program. 20 of those students have met their goals and graduated, moved on. There are 3 things children can do to leave the program. It's not like a regular thing where you say you get 10 weeks of instruction and then you're done. This program, once you have a spot, you're in until one of 3 things happens. Either you reach your goal and graduate, or you become a 3rd grader, or something changes in your family, then they can't make the sessions. So like we've had a couple of new jobs, or a new baby was born with health problems and they just couldn't keep up their commitment. We've had 4 of those families who had to leave because of family circumstances. We had 2 kids become 3rd graders before they met their goal. And beyond that, all the others either met their goal or are still in the program working toward it. So there they are. There's our graduates. Aren't they cute? And if you're a really fast counter, there are only 19 there because I forgot to take Ronan's picture. So sorry, Ronan. So there's some unexpected outcomes. And one of them is around the area of glasses. So if you're not a classroom teacher, you might not know this, but glasses are like the bane of an early teacher's existence. They're hard, mostly because students don't know they can't see. They don't know that everybody else is seeing better than them. There are yearly screenings, but they do not catch all the kids. So it's sort of up to the teacher to notice one of their 27 kids isn't seeing stuff well. So that takes a little while. And then if you think you notice that, you have to sort of test it out and check it out with really high-tech things like, hey, look over there, what do you see? And if you do that for a while and you start to think, I really think there's a problem, then you have to contact the parent and convince the parent that they need to call the eye doctor, make an appointment. In my experience, it takes from 3 to 6 months from the time I notice a child is struggling until they walk in the classroom with glasses. In growing readers, we've had 2 cases where the parent was on the phone with the eye doctor before the session was over. They're sitting right with me. They're seeing what I see when I'm saying, are you seeing that? The parent is a part of all of that. 5 kids had glasses that didn't when we started. So that's exciting. Kind of feels like magic to me, actually. Oh, we're talking about the success stories. This is the fun part. These 3 kiddos are my special shining stars. The top girl there, Kishay, came to me about a half a year behind. She's a 1st grader. She was reading at beginning 1st grade level. And her mom came and was one of those who said, I don't know how to help my struggling readers. And Kishay came with a sister and a brother. So all 3 kids came to the program. They started reading together every night. They started doing games to practice what they were learning, the fluency games. The older kids read to the younger kids for homework. Within 13 weeks, Kishay was on level and passed her end of year MAPS test with a score of passing. So that felt amazing to me. Her sister and brother were not far behind. They also passed. So that was exciting. 13 weeks. The little guy below her is Leo. He and his mom came. His mom, by the way, was one of my former 1st grade students. So that was sort of fun. And she said, how do I help him? Leo was a 2nd grader and he was reading the same level as Kishay, beginning 1st grade. So he was a full year and a half behind. And Leo and his mom worked, oh my goodness, everything I told them to do and more. They worked so hard. And his teacher and all of us worked hard. And within 10 weeks, which is 5 contact hours, he had made his goal and passed his end of year 2nd grade MAPS test score on level. I know. So yeah. And the last little guy here, the big picture, this is Caleb. He did not make his goal. He went to 3rd grade without reading on level. But I hold him up to you because there's lots of different ways to define success. I'm getting all emotional because Caleb. The first day he came to me, his dad literally drug him into my little room, sobbing and crying. I hate reading. Don't make me go. Please don't make me go. And his dad begged, please help us. Caleb has a severe speech and also hearing impediment, which means decoding is impossible in our traditional way. Sound it out is physically impossible. I am not special ed trained. I am not a speech and language pathologist. I do not have the background knowledge to help this child. But we had a space where 3 of us could put our brains together. And I work at ELKR Public Library, which is an amazing set of resources. So I got busy researching and calling on community members. And people were so helpful and so wonderful about giving me time, teaching me how to work with him. And this is not a Hallmark movie. He did not make his grade level goal. However, he made a lot of progress. He started loving listening to books, talking about books. And this last day of the day, we took this picture. He said, you know what? I can't read on third grade level yet, but I can read.
Some amazing stories. And our last slide here, I do want to show you what is next for our program. We've seen so much success that we are just thrilled to be able to announce that we are expanding the program. If we can find tutors. So we are currently looking for former teachers who would like to work with us and take just a few hours a week of their time to help us tutor more students. With just 15 hours a week, we'll be able to nearly double our reach. So if you know any former teachers looking to get involved, please have them contact us at the library and we'll put them right to work.
And we will pay.
Yes. Yes. And one thing I wanted to mention, we will pay the tutors, and also for the families, this program is entirely free of charge. Which is obvious to us working in the library, but sometimes not so obvious to people outside the library world. And so to be able to offer this regardless of family income status is amazing. So another goal of ours is to deepen our relationship with Concord Community Schools. We're so lucky with the literacy director at ELKR Schools. We meet with her often and we're always exchanging ideas. And I know that the Concord students deserve the same thing. So we're going to keep working on that relationship because we've seen amazing impacts when a student walks into our tutoring room and they see on the wall the ABCs phonics chart that they have the same exact one in their classroom. And their eyes get big and they say, where did you get that? My teacher has the same one. So we're really matching what is going on with the learning in the classroom. And this is our other new development. There's often preschoolers and parents just worry. I'm a parent, so I know how much I worried. Is my kid ready for kindergarten? Do they actually need extra help? And so we're going to offer kindergarten readiness assessments. So we can just tell the parent, you know, you're doing great, your child is on track. Or if they are a little bit behind, we can offer a spot to them in Growing Readers. So we've got these drop-in kindergarten readiness assessments, and that's going to take off soon. And so thank you so much for listening to us talk about our program. And we would be happy to answer your questions at this time. Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. I know Lisa had a good staff. I didn't realize you were that fabulous.
Thank you.
The Growing Readers cast has been very involved in reading programs, mentoring children, and this type of thing. And I know one member in particular, David Lehman, spent a lot of his spare time after he initially retired, helping and working with students. David, who else worked with you?
Oh, people from Presbyterian Church.
Oh, I mean Rotarian.
I don't know them.
But we've been engaged in helping, so maybe you stirred some interest.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, your question.
Your programs for children are terrific. They are certainly needed. But it seems that they all involve bringing the student to the library. And in many cases, that's not possible. Either the student doesn't have transportation, parents don't value reading. Do you have any programs to bring the library to the student?
Yes, that's a good question. The question was, can we bring it to where the student is if they're not able to come to the library? So it was one of our thoughts as we developed this program, and it's actually something that Muncie is doing already. So we decided to start with the program at the library and see if that's something we can add on later to maybe go visit in the home or in another site where the student is. So yes, that would be something we'd like to do. We just haven't yet.
I love your program. Thank you for what you do. What do you do when children come, they're having difficulty reading, but you notice that they're also having trouble with their speech and language? So what do you do there?
Go ahead, Sonia.
Sorry. What do we do with a child who's struggling with speech and language who comes to the program? For any struggle that a child has that's beyond my quick fix capabilities, I'm in contact with their teachers as much as possible, because we want to not have splintered support. We want to get wraparound support. So whatever we can do to work with the school and the family and the child is what we try to do. Not all teachers have a lot of time to communicate, but for those who do, we try and continue the work they're doing in one more time a week.
You.
What did you see at the Muncie school system that our school systems don't have?
Well, the question was about the Muncie school system and what do they have that our schools don't. I actually observed their library and I didn't really have any direct interactions with the schools themselves in Muncie. So yeah, go ahead, Sonia.
I'll just say that in talking with the tutors from Muncie, what we have that they don't is a whole lot of support from ELKR. They made up a lot of their stuff their own, sort of separate from the school system. We shared our idea with ELKR and Concord schools and immediately felt like, what can we do? And we have felt very supported by them. So it's not what they have that we don't, it's what we get that they don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Okay, Lisa.
This is a prompt, of course. You mentioned the MAPS test. How do you know the kids are reading on grade level? How do you know when they get there?
How do we know when kids are on grade level? There's one, we share assessments. I have access to the same like general assessments that the classroom teachers use. It's a web-based program that the library has purchased so that I have access to the same benchmark assessments. And then 3 times a year, students in ELKR and Concord do what's called a MAPS test, which I don't know if you're familiar with or not, but it's a nationally standardized test that sort of benchmarks where kids are across the year. And so if we're anywhere close to those, I'm in contact with the child's teacher to say, like, where are they falling on that test? And I feel like they've met their benchmark. What do you think? We're trying, because it's not exactly a cut and dried spots. We try and make sure that parent, teacher, and I all feel like that matches up and that the child's performing where they should be so that they're on level to hit that success point in 3rd grade.
Thank you so much.
All right, very great. One parting note, as we sit here, I keep seeing the lights dim and get brighter. I got my electric bill this week. When I was younger, I was afraid of the dark. As I got older, I'm afraid to turn the lights on. Meeting adjourned.